Hey babe, yesterday sucked, but it was also awesome. I woke up feeling exhausted, which is ironic because the day before I was feeling amazing. I finally got the rest that I needed. I was feeling energetic. I got the work done, my writing done for the day super quickly. I'm like, today is awesome. And the next day, yesterday, woke up completely exhausted. I had a headache. I felt weak. And it's just like the worst possible day in every way. And I'm just like, I don't want to work. Working, sitting down to write is the absolute last thing I want to do right now. Unfortunately, I'm doing this challenge and I simply cannot afford to skip another day. So I'm like, all right, let's find a way to force myself to do it. So I was speaking with my friend Aaron, and I'm like, okay, can we try to come up with a way to trick myself into being productive? And the solution we came up with is the Pomodoro method. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go to the park, choose a spot, sit down for 25 minutes, crank out as many words as I can, take a 5-minute break, switch to another spot, and repeat that over and over again until I've hit my 5,000 words for the day. Unfortunately, it didn't unfold exactly as I was hoping. I did do the first 3 sessions, but I just kept wasting my time. I kept rewriting the same sentence over and over, getting barely any words done. Like within, I think it took me, I was there maybe for 3.5 hours. I got like 1,500 words done. No, not even 1,400 words done. And I was just like wasting my time. I was getting a headache. I'm just like, this sucks. I can't keep doing this. So I decided, all right, I'm gonna head home, quickly finish this chapter that I'm working on, take a couple hours to relax, take a break, maybe eat something, come back to it later. Got home, did not work on the chapter just because I was like, I'm feeling exhausted, my head hurts, I don't feel like working. I just kept coming up with excuse after excuse why I shouldn't work. And it was like that for most of the day. Eventually around 5:30, 4 or 5:30, something like that. I'm like, okay, I need to get the words in. I can't afford to wait any longer because, I barely got any words done today. I need to hit my word count for the day, so I just need to sit down and push myself through this. So I decided, all right, I'm going to go on YouTube, find a couple motivational videos, get myself pumped up, find a playlist of inspiring music, play that in the background, and get to work. And that's what I did. And it took a while. Like a good hour before I was finally in the space where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to be in the flow, things are starting to happen, I'm starting to write, words are coming out, everything's good. And at some point, I hit that point where that song comes on, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that is the song. So I take that song, go on YouTube, find it, play it on repeat, and just crank it out. And I just ended up being like super productive. Like I got in the flow to the point where I lost track of time. I just like, okay, I'm gonna finish this chapter. Just focus on that. And I kept writing and writing and writing. And by the time I look up, I'm like, crap, it's 10:30 at night. And I got like 4,000 words done in the last couple hours without even realizing it. And then I go ahead, do the final word count. I'm like, damn, I wrote 7,010 words that day, which is way more than I've written in the past week ever since I started this challenge. And ironically, the whole point of this, at the start of the day when I was chatting with Aaron, I was like, how do I take this crappy day and trick myself, force myself to turn it into one of the most amazing days? And ironically, even though my strategy to do that completely failed, I spent most of the day struggling and feeling like I wouldn't succeed. But at the end of the day, I got to that space where everything just clicked. I got in that state of flow, and everything just magically came together. And I succeeded in turning a crappy day into the most amazing day so far in the challenge. And I realized 2 things. First of all, it is very, very possible to turn a bad day into a good day, an amazing day even, if you decide, you know what, I'm not going to let this day affect me. And second of all, is that you can't control when inspiration is going to strike. You can set the intention and decide inside, I'm going to make this an amazing day, even though it sucks. But I can't control when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. Just like today. This morning I had a mastermind meeting with my friends, and there was just this amazing realization of, oh wow, okay, my perception of alternate timelines, I don't know if you're familiar with that theory, but my perception of that theory completely changed. The basis of that theory is every time you're faced with the choice, a new reality is created, one in which you exist right now and you made a certain decision, and another alternate reality when you made the opposite decision. And every time you're faced with the decision, a new timeline is created. So there's like hundreds, thousands, millions of timelines created because every single time a new decision is presented to you, you make a choice and a new timeline is created. So there's literally millions of timelines out there with alternate versions of yourself who made slightly different choices. That is the theory of the timeline, like alternate timeline theory. But the thing is, I never liked it because even though you're like, yeah, it's cool, you can jump from one timeline to the other and become whatever version of yourself you want by simply changing your belief and your actions and your emotions, which is awesome. But unfortunately, it feels like you're always competing against the other versions of yourself. You want your timeline to be the ultimate timeline, the best timeline, and it doesn't really matter what happens to the other ones. So it's always like you're stuck in this state of competition. And this morning, what I realized is, what if instead of competing with your alternate versions, you instead work with them? So since there are millions of alternate realities out there with millions of alternate versions of yourself, it's safe to assume there's thousands upon thousands, if not millions of versions of yourself, where in a different reality you're doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, such as sitting down and writing. And once you adopt that perspective of like, okay, if we all do this thing at the exact same time, even though we're in different timelines, we're all interconnected and we're coming together to create what I like to call this mega timeline. And the closer you get to the center of this mega timeline, I like to imagine it kind of like electricity wire with like every wire, when you open it up inside, there's like a bunch of smaller wires kind of like fused together. And that's how I imagine this mega timeline of like all these different timelines kind of like brought together and fused together. And at any moment, a decision you make can cause you to be further away from the center of the timeline. So the center of the timeline is kind of like that purest version of the ultimate, most ideal version of yourself and timeline. And the further away you get from that center, the less like your true perfect self you become. And at some point, if you get far enough away, you can diverge and completely lose track of that mega timeline. And the more I spoke about it in the mastermind and with my friend Aaron after we had a discussion for like 2 hours where we talked about that, we realized like the center of the timeline, that ultimate reality, if you will, is kind of magnetic. And that is the default. And your beliefs and your perceptions and your fears and insecurities and everything is what causes you to kind of like pull away from that. And you always feel it inside. When you're doing the right thing, it feels right. When you're not doing the right thing, it feels wrong. And we get so stuck in our head of coming up with a plan and deciding, okay, this is what feels right inside, and this is the way that I choose to make it happen. This is the timeline in which it's going to happen. These are the people that are going to be impacted and playing a role in everything. It's like the more control you try to have over it, the further away you get from that central timeline, from that mega timeline. Because the more you're trying to control things rather than just doing what feels right, doing what is right inside. And just having that realization completely shifted my perspective, which is why yesterday, when I was trying to force the words out, it just wasn't working because it wasn't the right time. And then at the end of the day, when I entered that state of flow, it's because it was the perfect time. And all those alternate versions of myself out there who were doing this challenge were sitting down at that same time to write. And because all that energy was pulled together, all those different versions of myself, it just flowed through me effortlessly. And now, having this new realization, this new perspective of the world, I'm realizing, okay, today, I didn't write anything. I had the mastermind, then I went for a walk, had a chat with Aaron, then I went grocery shopping, and I came back. And my first thought is, okay, I have a lot of energy today, I'm positive, optimistic, I'm actually looking forward to writing. But this is just a logical time to sit down and write. It doesn't feel right inside. It doesn't feel wrong, but it also doesn't feel right. And I want to wait for that moment in the day where it's going to tell me inside, okay, now, go ahead, go, sit down, write, and it's just going to flow through you. I want to wait for that moment. So that is my goal for today. Wait for that moment. The moment it strikes, sit down and write and just see what happens. So this was a way longer story than expected because I ended up bundling 2 different stories into one. But as you can see, I'm very excited, energetic, and I'm just like, oh, The world is so much easier and more fun now that I have this new perspective because of this alternate timelines and this mega timeline and the fact that all these alternate versions of myself are doing the exact same thing at the exact same time. I don't need to force anything. I just need to do what feels right inside. And if I fail, it's okay because all these other versions of myself are there to catch me and to help me and to keep me moving forward. And the parts of myself, the things that I feel that I should be doing because it feels right, but I sense that for some reason I'm not meant to do. And I'm struggling. Should I release it? Should I hold on to it? Should I do it later? Should I do it now? I don't need to worry about that anymore because I can just release it and have an alternate version of myself take care of that. And all I have to do is worry about what feels right for me in this exact moment. Everything else is completely irrelevant. And just having that new perspective is a complete relief, and I just feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And even when it comes to this challenge, like yes, I still have the goal of writing 5,000 words per day. I'm still going to do everything I can to succeed. But whatever's meant to happen, the outcome of this challenge is going to happen no matter whether I force it or just let it happen. And why would I choose to force things to like bang my head against the wall repeatedly when I can just wait for the right moment and let the words pour out of me? Feels good. All right. So that's pretty much the gist of it. It's going to take forever to upload the video because the internet connection in this apartment sucks. The other day I uploaded a 15-minute video. It took 14 hours. And this is just coming up on 12 minutes. So I'm going to end things here. Spend the rest of the day pretty much watching as my phone uploads this video to YouTube. And just waiting for that perfect moment where me and all the other versions of me are going to sit down and rap. All right. Check back in later. Today is going to be awesome.